She's been a huge mentor to me in the work, and I think if it wasn't for Lynn and the work of NIPW, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, so it's really powerful. So I met Lynn, actually I don't remember when I met Lynn, but I was at that summit that Lynn was just talking about where Laura spoke. And it was a powerful experience. I don't think I've been at a conference since that was that transformational. And I was there because I was working for a reproductive justice organization. I was working with the National Latina Institute for Reproductive Health as an organizer, but I also happened to be a doula. How many people know what a doula is? Nice. Yeah, I will. I just like to see how many people know. That's awesome. So a doula is a person who provides support to women traditionally during childbirth. Different than a midwife in that we're not a medical provider. You're sort of a birth coach, an emotional and psychological support person. So I became a doula in college after getting really, really sort of riled up about some of the stuff that Lynn was talking about around kind of the state of childbirth in the United States. I saw a documentary in an anthropology class, and it sort of just blew my mind and changed my life. And I was already, when I got into birth activism, I was already sort of pro-choice, I was already a women's health activist, I was already a feminist, and then just got really incensed about childbirth and really motivated around that. And so I became a doula as a way to kind of work on improving the culture of childbirth and the way that folks primarily do birth in hospitals in the United States and trying to make that better. So doulas go with people giving birth in the hospital, at home, and just try to provide a lot of support, holding hands, suggesting position changes, things like that. So I became a doula and got really into the midwifery movement. And it wasn't until I had a phone conversation with Lynn where she pointed out to me sort of the contradiction in what I'd been doing, because she's saying, you know, it's really weird that you're at a pro-choice reproductive rights organization and you're a doula. And I was like, really? That's weird? And then I had a sort of a light bulb moment, because I'd been going to midwifery conferences and, you know, reading a lot, doing a lot of research, and being in these spaces with birth activists, and abortion was never discussed. And I had assumed falsely that it's because we all agreed, right? They were all pro-choice, like, you know, there was no issue. And Lynn pointed out to me that actually that's not the case at all. And actually, a large sector of the birth activist community is really pro-life, really anti-choice, very Christian, like Laura, a lot of sort of fundamentalists, and a lot of just people who really all they care about is sort of the childbirth piece of the work. And so it was at that summit at NAPW, the summit where I really got to sort of see clearly what my position was as a doula in this world. And I kind of coined for myself this term of radical doula. We had this day before the conference that was like a long one day of introductions. It was literally like 8 hours of introduction. And everybody got to stand up and, you know, tell their story. When you're around a bunch of midwives and doulas, like, they're long stories. It was amazing. It was really amazing to watch. And so I was literally the last person on a day, an 8-hour day of introductions to introduce myself. And after listening to all these different perspectives of people who were, you know, really pro-life, and then abortion activists who, like, think that, you know, midwives are sort of hippie earth mamas and they want an epidural and that's it, you know. I stood up and all I said was, I'm Miriam Perez and I'm a radical doula, and I sat down. So that's sort of how my blog, which is called Radical Doula, came about, was realizing, here's my position in this world of, I'm part of the pro-choice movement, I'm part of the reproductive justice movement, I'm also a doula, and I care a lot about birth and birth activism. But in some ways I'm very atypical in that world. You know, I'm queer, which is not as common in the birth community. I'm Latina, which is not very common in the birth community. I'm pro-choice, child of immigrants, and I could list a whole different sort of reasons why I'm atypical. And so I wanted to connect with folks in the birth community who also felt similar to me, who were pro-choice, who were reproductive justice activists, who were also queer, who also, you know, had questions around the gender binary and how that fits in with the way childbirth rhetoric works, who were, you know, immigrants themselves, stuff like that. So that's sort of why I started Radical Doula, and why, you know, I've come into this sort of this world trying to kind of make those connections and constantly talk about how those things go together. And so, you know, I get a lot of pushback, especially on the blog, about, you know, how can you be a doula and be pro-choice? How can you work with women having kids in childbirth and also support women having abortions? Isn't that a contradiction? You know, I get emails and comments all the time from people saying that that's horrific and disgusting. And, you know, Lynn has sort of talked about all the reasons why it makes a lot of sense, and it really resonates with me. You know, and from a doula's perspective, you know, my role as a doula is to provide support to that pregnant person, whatever kind of support that they need. I don't judge them about if they want to have an epidural. I don't judge them if they want a C-section. I don't judge them if, you know, they want their partner in the room, or they want, you know, their their whole neighborhood in the room. Like, I'm not a judge person, right? I'm there to support her, or to support the person who's pregnant in whatever capacity. And so to me, there's no contradiction in supporting her in having a birth, in having an abortion, in having an adoption, during her miscarriage. None of that is a contradiction, because in every situation, I'm providing support to her, or to the person who's pregnant, you know. So there's no contradiction there for me. And I find that the people who are very ideological about their doula work, who say, I won't work with you because you want an epidural, I won't work with you because you're queer, I won't work with you because you had an abortion, that's, to me, the contradiction. That they're not providing non-judgmental support to this person, which to me is the role of the doula. They're actually providing really judgmental, very narrow support. So